plan.
It's your boy Young Love, I give him that thing. Control like a stand, Panchi America. Panchi Dwal, Control like a stand, Panchi America. Panchi Dwal, walk on the lake, Kankaro, what on the watching. Oga, level, leg, gear, pow, very lake. Panda with Yay, Panchi America. Panya Dwal, Chingatonga, Pandon, could you ever buy a check? Papu Panda, you, what you Panchi America, Panchi Dwal, Pancha Lake
Human rights and crime against humanity. It has devastating implications on the victim's health, psychology, physical and economic well-being. Actions have been taken to address this problem by the relevant institutions. She also cited that the President declared an end to early marriages by 2030, and that governors should do the same in their states. Northern Barghazal has exactly done that, and that other states should emulate what Northern Barghazal has done. The resident representative for IGAD briefed the audience on the role and uncertainties of implementing the revitalized peace agreement. He briefed the audience on the roles, the functions and the structures of IGAD. He affirmed the commitment of IGAD to the implementation of the revitalized agreement. Western Barghazal State Governor stated that following the signing of the revitalized peace agreement, peace is holding in her state. The crime rate has significantly reduced. The cabinet and the citizens live and work together in harmony. Refugees and IDPs are voluntarily returning to the state. And that progress is being made in the implementation of the revitalized peace agreement, but there are challenges, including inadequate resources. Western Equatoria State Governor said Western Equatoria State is endowed or is blessed with numerous untapped natural resources. He said the state has long been peaceful until the recent crisis in Tombra County, and blamed the crisis on politicians. However, he said efforts are being exerted at all fronts to contain the crisis. And his administration is making noticeable progress in rehabilitation of essential infrastructures in the state. The governor of Upper Nile State reiterated that Upper Nile State is an oil state. It has abundance of other natural resources, including livestock, fisheries, and arable land. Yeah, including gum Arabic. But the state has been severely devastated by war and now by floods. The current state administration is taking the right steps to put the state back to its feet with many challenges. And so appeals for support from the national government and partners. And he emphasized on the sons and daughters of Upper Nile to make personal contributions so that the state returns to its former way. Discussions were done on the following. And mention was mention of the concurrent competence between states and national governments that needs a lot of prioritization in construction of major roads, procurements and allocation of assets to the states, cash transfers to the states, the opening of the oil refinery, His Excellency, the Vice President, distinguished guests, protocol remain observed. This brings me to the end of our recap of day 2. Thank you for listening.
Before you, they made a very short summary. Any omissions, outstanding omissions? Governor of Central Equatoria.
Okay, thank you. Yes, thank you, Your Excellency, First Vice President, and all distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Mine is an observation in line with what we have taken note of. You know, yesterday in our recap, I'm not trying to dispute the important role or undermine the Secretariat, but I think it has become apparent that we need to strengthen the Secretariat so that whatever we discuss here is clear outlined for purpose of documentation. So this is my recommendation to you or to the Secretariat, way forward from now onward, because yesterday I think we had a similar thing. There are omissions, and I think there is a vital information that you mentioned. And of course, what we are presented, all will not flashback unless each individual knows what he or she has presented. So I think it's important that we take note of this. And through you, I really appeal that we need to strengthen the secretariat. This is just my observation.
Thank you. Secretariat yesterday said there were 7. I hope some of you are not sitting idle. And I hope you are recording. Is there a recording facility? Sometimes you can go back to your records. I know it's a tedious job, particularly that we end late and you are expected to do some work through the night. Yes.
Yes, I can call the team leader. There's more paperwork and all the details. So I will advise the governors. The details are there. And instead of reading what you have talked about yesterday, we captured only. But let me call the team leader, Dr. Laban. If you are there, please.
All protocols remain observed. I would like to assure everybody that we have a strong and competent team which is taking down each and everything which is being said here. And what we are doing here is just a brief summary of what happened yesterday. And definitely we'll continue doing this up to the 5th day. And in the final report, all these details will be captured. I would like to assure you this. Thank you, Your Excellency.
Thank you. Okay, any omissions? We want them to hear. Okay. So, well, if no hands up, since they say they have captured everything, then we move forward. I don't see the governor of the bank. I believe he's away. Okay. If I don't see the governor of the bank, I also doubt what the Minister of Finance is around. So the Minister of Foreign Affairs, for the service cluster. Then we move to Minister of Federal Affairs. This is good. This will be better sequence from what we did yesterday. Should be followed by presentation from the Ministry of Federal. Do we have a support team? Or is yourself? So you have a presentation on yes. We'll move the presentation of the Minister of Finance and the Governor of the bank, and then the discussion to tomorrow, because I think that they are arriving back from Nairobi today. So we'll bring the ministers Okay, let's move forward.
Thank you, Your Excellency, the first Vice President, Dr. Riek Machar, honorable ministers who are present, our honorable governors, the administrators in respective administrative areas, our state ministers, the diplomatic corps, and all the protocol is observed. First, I would like to start by thanking the organizing committee from the Office of the President and the United Nations Development Program for their respective effort in making this great workshop what it is today. The Fifth Governors Forum under the theme, a role of states and special administrative areas in the implementation of the revitalized peace agreement for peaceful, stable, and prosperous South Sudan is organized in an appropriate moment when the people of South Sudan are eager to know about what has been done, what has been achieved, what are the setbacks, and what are the next course of actions with regards to the revitalized peace agreement. The topic which was apportioned to the Minister of Federal Affairs, who is me, is about federalism as the constitutional option for governance system in post-conflict countries, as agreed for in the revitalized peace agreement. Your Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the Minister of Federal Affairs was one among the 35 ministries of the revitalized transitional government of national unity, established under the provisions of the revitalized peace agreement 2018, with the goal of establishing a federal system of government in response to the long-term wishes of the people of South Sudan. Most importantly, the ministry was established in accordance with Article 1.10.2.11 of the Revitalized Agreement on the Resolution of the Conflict in the Republic of South Sudan. It is to facilitate the process of federalization through the permanent constitutional making process to ensure a fully functioning federal system in post-conflict South Sudan. Studies and our experience have shown that centralization is associated with marginalization, exclusivity, highly centralized corruption, misuse of power, administratively, politically, and financially. Also, this high level of impunity, lack of concentration of resources at the expense of the periphery, which results in lack of rural development in many centralized countries. On the other hand, currently, we can get the data. We found out that over 40% of the world population is managed under a form of federal system of government, and some countries call it federal, while others do not call it federal, but it is. So no doubt we are on the right track. I wanted to give you some historical context in reference to the idea of federalism here in this country. One among the major root problems that plagued this country to conflict, those who govern or the ruler and the one who are being governed, the ruled. The relationship between these is very critical. That is why the emphasis in the revitalized agreement on the resolution of conflict is to call for fundamental reforms in all sectors of the government, meaning that governance as its fundamental principle and the direction needed, reforms that bring stability, that brings peaceful coexistence within the people of South Sudan, and also that promotes prosperity. We are aware that South Sudan 10 years ago was part of the Sudan. Sudan had been ruled by the British as two separate administrative regions in an Arab north and then an African south until 1946, when the country was united. Yet, during that period of time, deep disparities in development and access to power and resources remained critical. In 1954, an agreement was signed that provided for self-determination and self-governance for the Sudan. During this moment, South Sudan called for federation or confederation or independence, which is separation. Therefore, with enormous different meetings and conversation, federalization or federalism was agreed to be the governance system for the Sudan right at independence. On the 1st of January 1956, Sudan became independent. However, prior to the independence in 1955, the political elites in Khartoum renounced its earlier promise to establish a federal system that devolved powers to the peripheries. This provoked a number of Southern Army officers to mutiny in Torit, in eastern Equatoria, and this ignited the first civil war in the Sudan. Several groups later emerged, and it gradually developed into what became to be known as Anyanya movement. This conflict spread from Equatoria to Upper Nile and Bahar Ghazal. In 1972, after 17 years of war, Addis Ababa agreement was signed between the government in Khartoum, led by President Jafar al-Meri, and Juba as its capital. In 1982 elections, Nimeri met with hostile demonstrations organized by youth opposing redivision in the south, and that demonstration happened in Ubek. Subsequently, in December 1982, President Nimeri asked the High Executive Council to make recommendations for division of the South. However, the High Executive Council refused, as it considered itself not to have the constitutional authority to unilaterally amend the Southern Regional Self-Government Act of 1972. In June 1983, Nimeri went ahead and issued the Republican Order No. 1, a decree ordering the decentralization of Southern Sudan, dividing it into three separate regions, Bahr al-Ghazal, Equatoria, and the Upper Nile, with a separate capital in Wau, Juba, and Malakal respective arrangement, which for some, following the incidences that occurred after the pronouncement of the decree, referred to as Kokora. And the word Kokora is a Bari word, which is my word. It means division, or it also means sharing. However, because of reactions of some of the people, which led to loss of lives. In other words, the acceptance of decentralization following elections of Joseph James Tombra and subsequently the decree of the President Mary to divide the southern region into three agreements. Here, an opportunity was availed for the establishment of the SPLA-SPLM in 1983, which took the country another 21 years of war. Since the debate on federalism goes back to the history of Sudan, South Sudanese politicians and liberation groups sought the establishment of a federal system within the Sudan. Therefore, a federal arrangement was ultimately endorsed in the interim constitution of Sudan following the signing of the 2005 Comprehensive Peace Agreement, which paved way for South Sudan's independence through a referendum and the establishment as an independent state of the Republic of South Sudan in 2011. On the sittings of the legislature to finalize the interim constitution that would pave way for the promulgation of Southern Sudan to become republic and an independent country, the issue of federal system was raised, but that issue at that time was shut down. Instead, South Sudan adopted a decentralized system of governance. On December 15, 2013, and subsequently 2016, South Sudan again experienced devastated civil war among itself. Given this historical background, it's right to conclude that the causes of the crisis and the ones before South Sudan's independence is mainly on the issue of governance. I want to take you through the topic of federalization in reference to the constitutional making process. For the above reasons that we have stated, the following, the people of South Sudan historic measures, events, following the people of South Sudan historic major events, the revitalized agreement on the resolution of the conflict in the Republic of South Sudan strongly acknowledged a federal system of governance as a popular demand of the people of South Sudan. And this is in Article 1.4.11 that calls for a federal and democratic system of governance that reflects the character of the Republic of South Sudan and ensures unity and diversity that has been enacted during the permanent constitutional making. The agreement further in Article 4.1.5 states that the wealth of South Sudan shall be shared equitably so as to enable each level of government the devolution of power and resources and the decentralization of decision-making in regards to development, service delivery, and governance. Most importantly, Article 4.11.4 states that in line with the agreement on the devolution of more powers and resources to the states and the counties, wealth sharing and revenue are not after the permanent constitutional making, because this is actually what the agreement says, and it is important because my honorable governors should know that we are in the process of moving towards establishing a fully fledged federal system. So the people of South Sudan are not going back to the decentralization or centralization. Your Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, since federalism is a political concept describing a form of government in which sovereignty is constitutionally divided between a central governing authority and the constituent units, in South Sudan, we are looking for a three-tier government levels. The federal, which is usually people refer to as the central government, the national government, and then the state and the local governments. And the people are subject in this level of governments to the laws at each level, and they are accountable to their respective constituencies at each level. That means federalism requires the constitutional guarantee of the political autonomy of the states, which would allow the people of the states to elect and hold accountable state leaders without interferences from the federal government. The call for federalism was not to abolish the current decentralization, but rather, as the first Vice President explained in his opening remarks, this is a transition to a high level of devolution of powers and resources to the lower levels of government. That we started from centralization to decentralization. Now we are moving to a full federal system of government. And I think we are doing that in the right way. And I'm happy that is happening during my time. That means powers and resources shall be devolved to lower levels of government, which guarantees political, administrative, and the financial autonomy to the states and local government. Not only that, federalism also defines exceptional circumstances and the procedures that may necessitate the federal intervention in states' affairs by law. Besides the differences or uniqueness with the decentralization is that powers within the decentralized system are delegated and can be withdrawn by the central authority, which is a complete opposite of the federal system of government, whereby powers are enshrined in the Constitution. And that, I think, is what the people of South Sudan have been requesting for very many years. And thank God it's happening in this time. And ladies and gentlemen, if this system of government is implemented properly, the local, the state, and the federal government are all strengthened, while each level become an epicenter for quick and rapid development. We have to accept the current decentralized constitutional framework already contains the foundation for a federal arrangement. Therefore, the transition to a fully fledged federation in South Sudan would be an improvement rather than radical departure from the current governance system. The Minister of Federal Affairs actually did some grassroots consultations and in forms of workshops and symposiums. In different states of federal system of government as a system that is going to be implemented in the post-conflict South Sudan. Your Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the Ministry of Federal Affairs is as I stated earlier, a new ministry which lacked basic infrastructure. It also has serious lack of capacity and without resources to function of the 10 states and the 3 administrative areas. The next phase is to visit the areas so that we ascertain some and also brush off some of the concerns with regards to the issue of federalism. But that will work out when there are availability of fundings and they will be launched by the first Vice President of the Republic. This month, in collaboration with the College of Law in Addis Ababa University, the ministry conducted a one-day workshop on devolution and the nation building in post-conflict South Sudan. After conducting several consultative workshops and meetings, there are some few fears and reservations which I wanted to bring to your attention. But our studies shows that with the federalism, there is always a mechanism to ensure that there is equitable development across the country through federal transfers of resources to poorer states. There is also another fear of disintegration of South Sudan, and this was raised in some of the sessions very strongly. And one of the points was that people are concerned about the secession of Equatoria. That Equatoria region may become even an independent country when the country goes independent. In a federal system, the federal government is granted power. There are some fears that states who are lacking capacities, how are they going to function when we go fully federal? This is the result of lack of capacity, ladies and gentlemen, is a result of lack of access to resources or low level of education also the history, history of conflict and the political culture of centralization. That's why all centralization governments still lack capacity, even if they have all the resources. And we have seen that through our experiences. The fear of the cost of running multiple layers of government is also seen as one reservation to federalization. Comparatively, it can also be compared to any decentralization system as well as the challenges of creating many states. This is not specific to federalism. The Ministry of Federal Affairs would like to take an initiative to conduct research about the cost of running multiple layers of government as well as its social economic viability. This is in order to see how to help each state in order to manage such challenges should it arise during the implementation of federalism. Some people associated federalism with a number of states. Some people also associate federalism as one that defines ethnic differences. Federalism is not about the negative connotation, as I said earlier, of the word kokora. Federalism is not about reinforcement of ethnic or tribal divide. Instead, federalism encourages core principles of good governance, which are very critical. And these are legitimacy. How do you draw your legitimacy? The rule of law, respect to human rights, equity, inclusivity, transparency, and accountability. Federalism is about devolution of powers and resources to clearly divided constituent units at the federal level, state level, and the county level with clear political, administrative, and fiscal arrangements in the Constitution. In a federal system, there are expanded opportunities for citizens to participate in various levels of government and also to hold their leaders accountable without interferences from the federal government. Since the ministry does not have state offices other than like other line ministries, which are associated in the governance cluster, I request that the governors who are here, our administrators from respective administrative units, and to become our direct advocates to explain to the people the agreement and the laws of the Republic of South Sudan in line with the issue of federalism. Because ultimately, we are going to reach a level where we shall have a federal constitution, and the people must be able to get prepared to know that. It's very important. As per the directives of the President of the Republic, conducting comparative study in countries with the federal experience is important, as well as sensitization of the people, our partners who are interested in this governance system, to help us conduct some of these comparative studies so that we inform the people of South Sudan appropriately. Our strategic direction of the ministry and its comprehensive blueprint on federal arrangement in the constitution of the post-conflict South Sudan. Number two, the ministry planned to carry critical, important comparative study towards key countries with the federal and the devolution experiences as per the directives of the President of the Republic. The ministry planned to carry out conscientization sessions in each of the 10 states and 3 administrative areas, given availability of resources. Number 4, the ministry planned to finally conduct its national conference on federalism, which will bring delegates from the states and the the three administrative areas, when the blueprint on federal arrangement in post-conflict South Sudan is completed, to be debated and validated. The blueprint shall be shared with the people of South Sudan, and it shall be the key reference material for the federal arrangements in the permanent constitution of the Republic. We call it the Republic of South Sudan, whatever name we wanted, shall be discussed. The issues related to resource rights, the issues related to responsibilities, taxation, powers not stipulated in the Constitution, system of government, powers of the federal, powers of the state. We have a constitution and a federal system that reflects the realities of the people of South Sudan. In conclusion, Your Excellency, our distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, federalism is going to be the system that holds. Therefore, I urge you to read the agreement and the interim constitution and the other related laws to be prepared on how governance in each level of government shall be imposed, the currently revitalized transitional government of national unity, and ultimately that is going to be a federal South Sudan with no exception. And I encourage you all to be advocates and to accept that if there are differences or there are questions about the federal system, I think it's important to note that the people of South Sudan have long, our founder, Dr. John Garang, used to refer to us taking counsel of the villages. Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellency, thank you for giving this opportunity. Thank you for listening. God bless our leaders and
Thank you, Juba, for this wonderful presentation. I want to say it's a good reference for those who want to discuss. We'll move forward. We will bring forward presentations of, I think, the three states of today, and hopefully the other two states that had remained. Those who are supposed to present tomorrow, we'll bring them forward. For us to gain time tomorrow, for other ministers who will come and present. But before I give the chance to the governors, let me go back to the issue raised by the Minister of Justice yesterday, which was highly played in the news, television, where he said the legal administrations in the states are directly under the Ministry of Justice, which is true. But you have in your states, each state government has Ministry of Parliamentary and Legal Affairs. You have Ministry of Parliamentary and Legal Affairs. Which means it's doing two functions. It's doing the function of the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs. It's also acting as Ministry of Justice within the state. I thought you were going to debate with him on this issue, because he also mentioned that the legal administration in the state is responsible for the application of the national laws and also the state laws, which means so that they assist you on the application of the national laws. But the state laws, suppose we had a split parliamentary affairs and legal affairs, the debate will come and will be that the Ministry of Legal Affairs will then be responsible for the state laws, because you produce state laws. I wonder, I have not yet seen legislation done in the state. Whether really your state assemblies are passing laws within your competencies in Schedule C. This is happening. Maybe the nearest state to the center is Central Equatoria. There's a compilation of your laws. Are they printed? Do the counties know about them? Or they just debate your budget and they go for recess? Do we really pass laws as a state government? Are those laws available? Can we share some of them? Because it's important when we are moving towards establishment of a federal system. This thing is clear. I've been looking for authorities. Before the war, I knew that at least 6 states had passed legislation on establishment of council of traditional leaders authority or TAL in the intercommunal violence. This council is important to assist you, whether at the county level, the local government level, or at the state level. So I'm still looking for an house that you have passed for the establishment of Kotal. Whether we have them in the ministry, local government board, or at the presidential affairs. In your discussion, I want you to give us, you enlighten us also on these issues. The governors forum, when it started, it was assumed that the governors forum would be conducted quarterly, but it became expensive to do that. We moved to twice a year, also became expensive. Then lately it became once a year. And that's why it is if it is once a year, it is an important forum that you must clarify things that we have doubts in your mind in governance at this forum. Having stated that, I would like to move forward. Before I move forward, I want to bring back again the issue of evolution of powers and resources. Powers and resources. By the agreement, we should have devolved powers and resources in 3 months of the establishment of the RT Gola. We have not yet done that. But after this forum, we might have to constitute a team to what is being kicked off. It would have found us. We have made ABC of the devolution of powers and resources to the states and the counties. However, you might have some, because we want to see your thinking. What is your thinking on these issues? Okay, having stated that, we move to presentation by Honorable Luis Lobong Lojoro. You're welcome. Take the floor.
Your Excellency, the first Vice President of the Republic, Your Excellencies, the national, my colleagues, the governors, and the chief administrators, honorable state ministers, the state secretary generals, all invited guests, members of international organizations who are present. I greet all of you in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ.
Well, I would like to appreciate the opportunity, and I begin by thanking the Ministry of Presidential Affairs for convincing this Fifth Governors Forum once again. Having said that, the Ministry of Presidential Affairs, the next time there is a need to identify the focal points, persons in the ministry
Africa is the best. African tribe, this one Matasibu. Straight from BBG, we bring this for you. It's blessings from Africa. Everybody, let's do it Adungu style. Come on, wine feed this tune Adungu style. Come on, step feed this tune Adungu style. Come on, wine feed this tune Adungu style. Kede alabu Adungu style. Kede hisuya Adungu style. Kede alabu Adungu style. Kede hisuya Adungu style. Adungu flavor. Adungu swagger. Kadila gemi salabu Adungu. Baby sumutu keli alabu Adungu. Zaman kan baba kele mugali. Zaman kan mama kele mugali. They are biscuit monta bediri. They are uruka monta bediri. Ana inu yuma biga binaga mokoyo. Ana inu yaba biga bifataras. Adungu de bidugu ilele saba. Adungu de belabu ilele saba. 1, 2, Bojita gele gele ngalo, alo, nikonyi didi ebeku. 1, 2, Bojita gele gele ngalo, alo, nikonyi didi ebeku. Everybody, let's do it Adungu style. Come on, wine feed this tune Adungu style. Come on, step feed this tune Adungu style. Come on, wine feed this tune Adungu style. Kede alabu Adungu style. Kede hisuya Adungu style. Kede alabu Adungu style. Kede hisuya Adungu style.
Juka juka kiuna ijete Adungu. Kaya kaya tuka tuka kide wara kinyena. Tisulunda kiria luluru jalimo. Watira bakan kinyipa wisi kilot. Karili kang loperoni abang sumama. Tukuli tuli panditi yang komedike. Iyo yolo isi sira. Aturu mulangi laguli dede mama. Tangudi karina pete ulek mama. Sakit bombom yena Adungu de best. Tui amanga tubeke. Tui ngalo Adungu labuwa. Tui amulo tubeke. Tui ngalo Adungu labuwa mama.
Everybody, let's do it Adungu style. Come on, wine feed this tune Adungu style. Come on, step feed this tune Adungu style. Come on, wine feed this tune Adungu style. Kede alabu Adungu style. Kede hisuya Adungu style. Kede alabu Adungu style. Kede hisuya Adungu style. African style, sek it to the band. Sek it back at Jenny. It's been there long time. It's been there long time. Adungu, this is our culture. Adungu, this is Africa. Move to the right, let me see how you do it. Move to the left, let me see how you do it. Adungu is peace, let's peace, love together. Adungu is love, let's peace, love together. We have to come together, we have to unite. We have to come together, we have to unite.
Kajuke tingine takipo kita ikoja. Karili kang loperan lo iperan tinganye. Kutetore romaika kutetore. Kutetore romaika kutetore. Andu ningundi kolo da kuwati kolu. Ikwa poja karili kang lo.
Everybody, let's do it Adungu style. Come on, wine feed this tune Adungu style. Come on, step feed this tune Adungu style. Come on, wine feed this tune Adungu style. Kede alabu Adungu style. Kede hisuya Adungu style. Kede alabu Adungu style. Kede hisuya Adungu style. Everybody, let's do it Adungu style. Come on, wine feed this tune Adungu style. Come on, step feed this tune Adungu style. Come on, wine feed this tune Adungu style. Kede alabu Adungu style. Kede hisuya Adungu style. Kede alabu Adungu style. Kede hisuya Adungu style.
sabinia nizazope kalambe babato hapa anate sabinia nizazope kalambe babato hapa ni kalamti bijawa jani wakwana na bijakore kalamti bijawa jani Duriata ide zekiya alena anu bijamu tu waraita
Dagili wale mababana uzani anakita wala lela mababana akani anasibuita
mama wale duriata ide lela walo tu patake anu bijamu tu waraita dike alela anu bijamu tu hata kotake bara bija sibu أنا كجاكيبو كلامتي في جوا جني إذن أبوتك يا بايتا
إرجلي ولا دوري أتاكي أكاني مني
أنا ما أقولو إنت في جابونا كده سلام جي أنا في جام فنانو أدينا kalam
Jinub Sudan da bagburu da legit na yoku biat kepanda karyak wetung bakanti yang uci bengwoy kiepin bagarian ge bule cholerian ge bendan joye 32 state waken kugam utu waken state waken kugam ukwe wanebres na chukudukut waken kugam yang ubu jalgam kecil banting Jinub Sudan da bagburu da legit na yoku biat kepanda karyak wetung bakanti yang uci bengwoy kiepin bagarian ge bule cholerian ge bendan joye 32 state waken kugam utu waken state waken kugam ukwe wanebres na chukudukut waken kugam yang ubu jalgam kecil banting dapat paciran bendan rem yalman aku jamerka bendu elai nama aku jakulun benjal beruton bendar ceban benda kidi dari po benda kene morngan Jinub Sudan benelatar wajam ubur ulet yang keluar jero banda paciran bendan rem yalman aku jamerka bendu elai nama aku jakulun benjal beruton bendar ceban benda kidi dari po benda kene morngan Jinub Sudan benelatar wajam ubur ulet yang keluar jero banda Jinubin bankire pakka wek benda jal kelyap ban jala ya bain duon jogo tuang de bagala jogon chak tak chui kwa chin kungwen bain dae pakka wek benda jal kelyap ban jala ya bain duon jogo tuang de bagala jogon chak tak chui kwa chin kungwen bankire pakka wek benda jal kelyap ban jala ya bain duon jogo tuang de bagala jogon chak tak chui kwa chin kungwen Nyaman aku jamerka bendu elai nama aku jakulun benjal beruton benda ceban benda kidi dari po benda kene morngan Jinub Sudan benelatar wajam ubur ulet yang keluar jero banda paciran bendan rem nyaman aku jamerka bendu elai nama aku jakulun benjal beruton benda ceban benda kidi dari po benda kene morngan Jinub Sudan benelatar wajam ubur ulet yang keluar jero banda Jinub Sudan da bagburu da legit na yoku biat panda karyak wetung bakang ti yamuchi benwoy ki pin bagariange bule cholariange bendan joyak 32 state wakin kugam kudu wakan state wakin kugam ukwi wong nebres nepchukudukut wakin kugam yang ubu jalgam nekichi banti Inuk Sudan dapat buru dalegit na yeku biat ke panda keryak wetung bakang ti yang uci benwoy ki pin bagarian ke bule cholarian ke bendan joyak 32 state wakin kugam kudu wakan state wakin kugam kukwi wong nebres nepchukudukut wakin kugam yang ubu jalgam nekichi banting dapat aciran lebar
In a quiet African village, there are lots of granaries on poles. Lots of granaries everywhere.
Local band music.
New South Sudan. 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 Everything is brand new. Message from an angel. New era, new nation, new people who believe in peace, who believe in harmony. We embrace and believe in our common destiny. Time to redefine what we stand for. Time to be one and rebuild this nation. Crystal clear that we died for nothing. Important and worthy to die for something. I guess the lesson learned, things will never be the same. To err is human, so it's stop blame game. Today is a new chapter we set on our course. This rebellion happened, address the root cause of why we not united as a new nation. Moment of silence, time for reflection. New South Sudan. 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 Devil is so strong, it can take you for a ride. When you beg to your senses, you cry all night. We got the energy, we can go extra mile. Bring peace across the river Nile. The storm is over now, no more gunshot. Sun is shining again, it's a new day. See my neighbor hoping.
Yeah, welcome back to Lagos State Media. Apologize for the network and also the conference is still continuing, but they have a break. We will be back when they are back in the hall. So thank you and stay tuned with us. I will come and host the same program when it's coming up to continue. Thank you. Have a good evening. Good night, everybody.
It's your boy, I'm giving that thing. Control legislate, Panchi America. Panji Dwal, Banaban, Control legislate, Panchi America. Panji Dwal, Banaban, walk on the lake, Kankara, Watana watching. Oga level leg, Juir, Pau, Garay Lake, Panda with Yay, Panchi America. Panya Dwal, Vano, Chingatonga, Pandon, could you ever buy a check? Papu Panda Juir, what you have. Pancho legs stand, Panchi America.